rainy weather with lots of traffic as you would on a clear sunny day with minimum traffic. Dealing with road rage. As the population in Arizona grows, the number of cars on the road grows as well. Understanding and being able to identify an aggressive driver can help you react in safe and defensive way. Staying away from drivers with road rage is your best option and can help prevent an accident. If a driver reacts negatively or in an angry manner to another driver, it can cause road rage. If a driver makes a mistake, and another driver becomes angry and can't process their emotions in a healthy way, they may react in a dangerous way. This could be tailgating another driver, cutting the other driver off and braking suddenly, or making threatening remarks or gestures towards another driver. Emotional fitness. If you're overly excited, angry, or depressed, it makes it harder to drive safely and defensively. It's your responsibility to determine if you are emotionally fit to drive at the moment. The most common emotion to cause problems on the road is anger, which can cause other drivers to act out in a negative and dangerous way. Don't let your emotions take over or influence the way you drive. It could result in dangerous driving mistakes. If you commit a series of acts that presents an immediate danger to other drivers and takes place in one continuous period, you can be cited for aggressive driving. Committing two or more the following moving violations can lead to a citation: making an unsafe lane change, failing to yield or obey a traffic control device, failing to yield to an emergency vehicle, following too close. The penalties for aggressive driving are: first offense, you will be required to attend a traffic school course and your license may be suspended for 30 days. Second and subsequent offenses. If you commit a second offense within 24 months, you are guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor, and your license will be revoked for 12 months. To avoid behaviors that can provoke another driver, do not cut someone off. If you are merging, make sure you have plenty of space to move into and signal your intent before you merge. Do not drive too slow when traveling in the far left lane. Use this lane if you want to pass another car, but once you've passed, move back into your original lane. Do not tailgate another driver or follow too close. It can be frustrating and nerve-wracking if you are too close to them. It can make them angry or cause them to make a mistake. Never make rude or obscene gestures towards another driver. Your hands should remain on the steering wheel at all times. Only use your horn in case of emergency. Don't honk to scare or startle another driver or to let them know they made a mistake. It can provoke the other driver and make them angry. If you do find yourself in a potentially dangerous situation with an angry driver, do not make eye contact with them. Create as much distance between your car and the angry driver. If you need to, change lanes and allow them to pass or turn onto a different road to lose them. Distracted driving. Whenever you are driving a vehicle and your attention is not on the road, you're putting yourself, your passengers, other vehicles, and pedestrians in danger. Distracted driving can result when you perform any activity that may shift your full attention from The driving task. Taking your eyes off the road or hands off the steering wheel presents obvious driving risks. Mental activities that take your mind away from driving are just as dangerous. Your eyes can gaze at objects in the driving scene but fail to see them because your attention is distracted elsewhere. If drivers react a half-second slower because of distractions, crashes double. Some tips to follow so you won't become distracted. Review and be totally familiar with all safety and usage features on any in-vehicle electronics, including your wireless device or cell phone. Before you drive, pre-program radio stations. Preload your favorite CDs or cassette tapes. Clear the vehicle of any unnecessary objects. Review maps and plan your route before you begin driving. Adjust all mirrors for best all-round visibility before you start your trip. Do not attempt to read, text, or write while you drive. Avoid smoking, eating and drinking while you drive. Don't engage in complex or emotionally intense conversations with other occupants. It is also important that you can recognize other drivers who are engaged in any form of driving. Distraction. Not recognizing other distracted drivers can prevent you from perceiving or reacting correctly in time to prevent a crash. Watch for vehicles that may drift over the lane divider lines or within their own lane. Vehicles traveling at inconsistent speeds. Drivers who are preoccupied with maps, food, cigarettes, cell phones, or other objects. Drivers who appear to be involved in conversations with their passengers. Make sure to give a distracted driver plenty of room and maintain your safe following distance. Be very careful when passing a driver who seems to be distracted. The other driver may not be aware of your presence, and they may drift in front of you. Drive defensively to avoid collisions. What is defensive driving? It is driving to protect you against possible collisions caused by bad drivers, drunk drivers, poor weather, and heavy traffic. You drive defensively when you look ahead, put space between you and the vehicle ahead, keep your eyes moving, leave yourself an out, make sure other drivers can see you. If you look ahead and keep your eyes moving, you will spot a hazard more easily. Once you have seen the hazard and have decided what to do, act. Never wait and see. Never think that everything will be all right. Children playing in the street may not see you. The boy on the bike may ride in front of you. The man opening the car door in your lane may not see you. If you are in a collision, you may be legally at fault if you could have prevented the collision but didn't. Remember that you can prevent most collisions if you drive defensively. You should think about every close shave or collision you are involved in. Decide what went wrong and who made the mistake. Could you have avoided the collision or near crash? What did you do wrong? By asking yourself these questions, you can see if you need to change your driving habits. Such changes might help you avoid a serious collision later. The most common causes of collisions. The top 5 factors: speed, auto right-of-way, improper turning, signs and signals, DUI. Protecting yourself in collisions. Most drivers hit the brakes first to avoid a collision. Sometimes this locks the wheels, unless you have anti-lock brakes, and the car begins skidding, making things worse. Remember that you can do 3 things to avoid a collision. You can stop quickly, turn, or speed up. To stop quickly, apply firm, steady pressure on the brakes. If the car begins to skid, release the brakes. Step on the brakes again using firm, steady pressure. Repeat this process until the car stops. Note: anti-lock brakes must not be pumped. If you don't have time to stop, turn. Run off the road if you have to and if there is room. Driving off the road is usually better than hitting another car. Try not to brake as you turn. Sometimes you can speed up to avoid a collision. This may work if a car is going to hit you on the side or the rear. If you can't avoid a collision, protect yourself as well as you can. If you are going to be hit from the rear, be ready to brake so that you won't be pushed into another car. If you are going to be hit from the side, brace yourself with the steering wheel. Perhaps you can keep yourself from being thrown against the side of the car. If you are going to be hit from the front, use your arms and hands to protect your face if you are wearing a shoulder strap. If you are not using a shoulder strap, throw yourself across the seat so that you don't hit the steering wheel column or the windshield. If you see vehicle warning hazard lights ahead, slow down. There may be a collision or other road emergencies ahead. Stop and give assistance or pass very carefully. If possible, sometimes, on your car radio, you'll hear collision reports. Radio or news reports of collisions or roadwork often refer to numbered traffic lanes. Avoid driving near collisions and take another road if you can. Those injured will be helped faster if other vehicles aren't blocking the road. Never drive to the scene of a collision, fire, or other disaster to look. You may block the way of police, firefighters, or ambulances, and you may be arrested for doing this. It is against the law to follow closely behind any fire engine, police car, ambulance, or other emergency vehicles with sirens or flashing lights. If you must drive near a collision, don't slow down or stop to look. You may cause another crash. Drive by carefully watching for people in the road. Never drive over an unprotected hose. Obey any order from a police officer or firefighter. Their orders should be obeyed even if you must ignore normal traffic laws or signs. Collision statistics. Safest roads, divided highways. Speed is fairly uniform, and there are few access points. Most dangerous roads, undivided city roadways. Suburban roads lined with fast food restaurants and car dealerships are the worst according to the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety. (911) Emergency medical systems. If you are the first person on the scene of a collision, pull completely off the road after you have passed the collision. Check to see if anyone is injured. Tell the next person who stops to call 911. Give that person information on the injured persons. Ask other people to warn approaching traffic and put out flares or emergency triangles if any are available. Watch for and avoid gasoline. Help those not moving if possible. But don't move someone who is injured, as you could make the injury worse. If they are in immediate danger, such as trapped in a burning vehicle, move them to safety and then wait for an emergency responder to render aid. If a motorcyclist is unconscious, removing his or her helmet could make the injuries worse. If possible, let a trained medical person remove the helmet. Move the vehicles involved out of the traffic lane if it is not disabled. Turn off the ignition of wrecked autos. Don't smoke. Fire is a great danger. Search the area for victims thrown from the vehicle. They may be hidden in grass or bushes. Whenever you drive past a collision, and emergency help is already at the scene, do not slow down to take a look. Keep on going. Pay close attention to the orders and directions of law enforcement or fire department personnel. Rubbernecking at a crash scene is dangerous and slows traffic even more. To report a traffic collision, dangerous road conditions, drunk driver sighting, or other hazards, dial 911. In cities or towns, report to the local police or dial 911. The person calling 911 for emergency help must be ready to answer questions and provide important information such as location of the emergency, cross streets, freeway on, off ramp information, etc., and the number of the phone you are using. What happened? Know as much as possible about the collision, injury, etc. How many people are involved and need help? Is anyone bleeding, unconscious, or without a pulse? Is first aid being given? Don't hang up first. Be sure you have provided all necessary information. Let the emergency dispatcher hang up first. Failure to stop at a crash. If you are a driver involved in a crash where there is damage to a vehicle, injury, or death, law requires you to stop your vehicle at the scene of the crash, or as close as possible, and immediately return to the scene. You must remain at the scene to provide aid to any injured person, including planning for medical treatment. Provide your name, address, and license plate number. If requested, show your driver license to any person involved. Conviction for failure to comply will result in your driving privilege being revoked for 5 years if involving death or serious physical injury. Revoked for 3 years if involving injury other than death or serious physical injury. Suspended for 1 year if involving only damage to a vehicle. Trauma and/or bleeding at the crash scene. Check the injured persons for breathing. If the victim appears to be unconscious and is not breathing, then begin artificial respiration, rescue breathing, at once. If there is no pulse, then start CPR. Only a person who is trained and certified should give cardiopulmonary resuscitation to the victim. Along with rescue breathing, you are urged to learn CPR. The American Heart Association and the American Red Cross offer courses to stop bleeding and prevent contagion from bloodborne diseases. Cover the wound with a compress, handkerchief, or other piece of clothing. Use a covering of some sort with an open wound to prevent your coming in contact with the victims blood. Press hard and elevate the wound above the heart unless this movement causes the victim pain. Shock victims will have pale bluish skin which is cold to the touch. The victim may also feel weak and have a rapid pulse. Keep the victim lying down and warm. If you are involved in a collision, you must stop. If you are involved in a collision, someone could be injured and need your help. If you don't stop, you may be convicted of hit and run and could be severely punished. If anyone is hurt as a result of a collision, call 911 for the police. Show your driver's license, registration card, evidence of financial responsibility, and current address to the other driver or persons involved, or to any peace officer. Vehicle insurance. How much insurance must you carry? State law says you must be financially responsible for your actions whenever you drive and for all motor vehicles you own. It is illegal to drive without being financially responsible. Most drivers choose to have an automobile liability insurance policy as proof of financial responsibility. If you have a collision not covered by your insurance, your license will be suspended. If the driver is not identified, the owner of the motor vehicle involved will have his or her license suspended. Every motor vehicle operated on the roadways of this state must be covered by an insurance policy issued by a company that is licensed to do business in Arizona. The policy must be an Arizona-based policy that reflects where the vehicle is predominantly being operated. Minimum levels of financial responsibility for private passenger vehicles are 000 bodily injury liability for one person and $30. 000 for two or more persons. 000 property damage liability. You must have current proof of that insurance in the vehicle when operating the vehicle. Law enforcement officers will ask you for proof of insurance at the time of traffic stops or crashes. Insurance companies notify MVD of all policy cancellations, non-renewals, and new policies. If your insurance company sends MVD a notice that your policy is no longer active, we will send you an inquiry notice to verify your insurance status. It is important to remember that you verify that the vehicle identification number, VIN, supplied by your insurance company matches the VIN on your vehicle registration. If it does not match, ask your insurance company to resubmit the correct VIN. To verify your insurance coverage on file with MVD, please visit www.servicearizona.com and click on Easy Insurance Verification. Failure to maintain proper insurance with a correct VIN on file with MVD could lead to the suspension of your vehicle registration and/or driver license. To reinstate these privileges, fees and future proof of financial responsibility must be filed with MVD. The future proof requirement is most commonly in State Route 22 form from an insurance company. And State Route 22 can be very expensive since they need to carry it for at least 3 years from the suspension date. Collision avoidance. Adjusting speed. Arizona's basic speed law says that you must never drive faster than is safe for the current conditions. No matter what the speed limit sign may say, your speed should depend on the number and speed of other cars on the road, whether the road surface is smooth, rough, gravel, wet, dry, wide, or narrow, bicyclists or pedestrians walking on the edge of the road, the amount of rain, fog, snow, ice, wind, or dust. For example, if you are driving 45 miles per hour in a 55 mph speed zone during a dense fog, you could be cited by a police officer for driving too fast for conditions. Even if you think it's safe, you can't drive faster than the legally posted speed limit. Collisions tend to happen when one driver is going faster or slower than other cars on the road. If you are going faster than traffic, you will have to keep passing other cars. Each time you pass another car, there is more chance of a collision. The car you are passing may change lanes suddenly. On a 2-lane road, an oncoming car may appear suddenly. True, it may not be a big chance, but if you are passing one car after another, the chances begin to add up. Studies have shown that speeding does not save more than a few minutes in an hour of driving. Going slower than other cars or stopping all of a sudden can be just as bad as speeding. It tends to make cars bunch up behind you, and it could cause a rear-end crash. If many cars are pulling out to pass you, you should increase your speed to the speed limit or move over into the right lane. Collision avoidance. What is the road like? Driving at a faster speed means you will have less control over your vehicle. Instead of just looking at the posted speed limit, Consider some of the other factors that affect the road and the way you drive. If the posted speed limit is 55 miles per hour but you are traveling on a steep icy road, driving below the speed limit is recommended. You can prevent most collisions by observing and by being a defensive driver. Collision avoidance. Curves. When you drive around a curve, there tends to be an outward pull on your car. When the road is slippery, you should be even more cautious than normal. Other factors that can cause the road to be slippery include gravel, mud, snow, or rain. Be aware of how sharp of a turn the curve is when judging how fast you go. Reduce your speed before reaching the curve, but avoid braking too hard when you are moving around the curve. Sharp braking could cause you to skid and lose control. Drive carefully when traveling on a freeway, as the curves on a ramp can make it more difficult to see ahead of you. Water on the road. It is important that you slow down when there is any amount of water on the road. In fact, one of the most dangerous times to be on the road is the first 30 minutes after rain begins to fall. This is because all of the oil and grime that tires leave on roads and highways lifts from the road and creates a slick oil sheen on roadways. This makes for a slippery situation. Hydroplaning. Hydroplaning can occur anytime water comes between your car's tires and the road. When water comes between your car's tires and the road, traction is reduced, and you can easily lose control of your vehicle. Standard-sized cars can hydroplane at speeds as low as 35 miles per hour. If you find yourself in a hydroplaning situation, you should not apply the brakes. If your vehicle loses traction with the road beneath it, you should let off the gas and hold the wheel steady until your tires can eventually grip the ground again. Hydroplaning is less likely to occur if your vehicle is equipped with good tires that have deep treads. Deep treads allow water to escape from under the tires and prevent tires from completely losing contact with the road surface when traveling at normal highway speeds. However, if the depth of the water on the road surface is greater than the depth of the tire treads, hydroplaning can occur at any speed. Slippery roads. Whether the roadways are slick from snow, ice, or mud, the number one rule to remember is to reduce your speed. When roadways are slick, skids can easily occur. The best way to prevent skids is to slow down and be aware of your surroundings. Here are some guidelines to follow when the roads are not in perfect driving condition. Wet road, go 5 to 10 miles slower. Packed snow, cut speed in half. Ice, slow to a crawl. If roadways are slippery, you should also remember to increase your following speed. If you need to come to a quick stop and the road is particularly slick, it will take you longer to brake. If you do not give yourself adequate braking distance, you can easily rear-end the vehicle in front of you. Ice is a sneaky roadway hazard. No driver is immune to the hazards that ice poses on roadways. Make sure to use extra caution when you are turning, approaching a curve, braking, approaching a shaded area, or going over a bridge. Ice can form on bridges and overpasses before it forms on the roads. Additionally, shaded areas of roadways will also freeze prior to the rest of the road. Temperature can affect slick roads in different ways. If it starts to rain on a hot day, pavement can be very slippery for the first few minutes. Heat causes oil in the asphalt to come to the surface. It makes the road slippery until the oil is washed off. Close to the freezing point, the road is icy and may be more slippery than at colder temperatures. Skids. When driving on slippery roads, slow down and maintain a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. Avoid using cruise control when the road surface is slippery. Like hydroplaning, a vehicle losing traction when water comes between its tires and the ground. Beneath them, vehicles start to skid when its tires lose their grip on the road surface. This can happen because the roadways are slick, tire treads are too worn, or other circumstances that would cause a driver to lose control of their vehicle. It is important to remain calm when your vehicle starts to skid. You should not slam on your brakes. Handle vehicle skids like you would when your vehicle hydroplanes. Let your foot off the gas. Hold the wheel steady, pointing the nose of your vehicle in your intended direction. And maintain as much control as possible until your tires are able to grip the road again. Some vehicles have anti-lock brakes, ABS. These are part of an advanced electronic braking system that helps keep the vehicle under control. In an emergency, when you apply anti-lock brakes, a computer senses that the wheels are slowing down. If one of the wheels is about to stop rolling, the computer will separately work the brakes at each wheel. If your vehicle has ABS, you should refrain from pumping the brakes. All you need to is press down on the brake pedal for the system to work. Take the following precautions to avoid going into a skid. Watch for areas where ice can collect. Avoid making any sudden adjustments or maneuvers. Do not slam on the brakes suddenly. Do not drive your car on the shoulder or too close to the edge of the road. Do not downshift at too great a speed. Do not use road chains unless the weather conditions call for it. Drive slower and stay further behind the vehicle ahead. Slow down as you approach curves and intersections. Avoid fast turns. Avoid quick stops. Pump the brakes to slow or stop. Anti-lock brakes do not require pumping. Shift to a lower gear before going downhill. Driving through wet conditions can sometimes splash water into the engine area of your car. If your brakes get wet, dry them out by pressing down on your gas and brake pedals together. The combination of the friction and the pressure will dry them out. Here are a few steps to follow if you find yourself in a skid. If you drive a manual vehicle, maintain pressure on the clutch. Steer in the direction the rear end of your vehicle is moving. Release the gas pedal slowly. Do not jerk the wheel suddenly. Make it a smooth, steady motion. Do not slam on the brake pedal. Pump them quickly and slowly. If you get into an acceleration skid, acceleration skids happen when a vehicle moves too quickly for tires to gain traction. Tires will slip and spin, causing burnouts. To keep control of your vehicle, gradually accelerate when you first start your car and begin to drive. If you get into a locked wheel skid, a person braking too hard at a high rate of speed and locking the wheels usually causes this type of skid. The vehicle will skid no matter which way the steering wheel is turned until you release the brakes. To unlock the wheels, then straighten the front wheels as the vehicle begins to straighten out. Slow the vehicle gradually until you are at a safe speed to continue your trip. Getting out of a tough spot. If the traction is poor and your wheels are stuck in mud, apply the power slowly to free yourself. Keep the wheels on the front of the vehicle pointed straight ahead. This will allow the vehicle to move forward in a straight line. But if you can't go forward, you may be able to back out while steering through the tracks of the vehicle. For vehicles with a manual transmission, shift to second gear. This will keep the wheels from spinning. Accelerate with caution and ease forward slowly until the traction improves and you are able to move again. You might need to force your vehicle to rock back and forth to get out. Put it in second gear if you have a manual transmission and switch to low gear if you have automatic transmission. Use a rocking motion and move forward more and more while using minimum power. Make sure your wheels don't dig even deeper into the mud or start spinning by using minimum power. If you are not able to free yourself with the rocking motion or the wheels just continue to spin, try to find a different way to create traction. Something like gravel or kitty litter may help, or you can use traction mats. Burlap, cinder, or branches may also work. Dig out a space in front of the tires and spread whatever material you are using. Accelerate slowly until you are able to move. Mobility and gridlock. A major problem in larger cities is traffic congestion. Slight changes in your driving behaviors could help traffic flow more easily. Below are some of the common behaviors that lead to traffic congestions. Tailgating. Tailgating is usually associated with aggressive driving behavior. Tailgating occurs when drivers do not provide adequate following distance between their vehicle and the vehicle in front of them. Many drivers use tailgating as a means to urge the driver in front of them to move faster. Tailgating is a type of driving psychology does not work. Tailgating is considered bad driving etiquette and creates a dangerous road scenario. Rubbernecking. Drivers that slow down to look at an accident, emergency, or other roadside distraction. Rubbernecking is especially annoying because offenders easily create traffic congestion. Inattention. Drivers that aren't giving the driving task 100% of the focus it needs and deserves are considered inattentive. Talking on the phone, texting, eating, changing the radio, even having a particularly emotional conversation while driving can all be considered driving. Distractions. Distractions cause hazards. Make sure you are fit to focus on the driving task before you get behind the wheel. Unnecessary lane changes. Some drivers think that they may reduce travel time by weaving in and out of traffic, in comparison to drivers that stay their course. Drivers that maneuver all over the road have shown virtually no difference in arrival times. Weaving through freeway lanes actually creates roadway hazards. Every time you merge, you are putting yourself in harm's way. You actually slow down traffic when you merge all over the roadway. If there are many vehicles on the road traveling close together, reduce your speed. If another car stops suddenly, it will be harder to avoid a collision if you are driving too close. Drive slower in areas where there may be a lot of people, such as parking lots, shopping centers, and downtown areas. You should also drive slower in areas with heavy traffic or if you see brake lights from several cars ahead of you. Additionally, slow down near schools and playgrounds. When driving in heavy traffic congestion, it is best to let your idling engine slowly propel your vehicle forward with your foot hovering over the brake pedal. This suggestion allows for quicker reaction time should you need to quickly stop your vehicle. A frequent necessity in rush hour traffic. Make sure to abide by all detour procedure that is marked or indicated on the roadway. If there are signs diverting your route, be keen to follow them. If there are road workers or police officers directing traffic, make sure to obey them. If you approach a detour that is in your lane of travel, reduce your speed. Obey signs and signals from road or construction workers or any police officers nearby. careful when driving in areas with many one-way streets. Signs are posted to guide you in the right direction, so pay attention. If you notice another driver traveling the wrong direction on a one-way road, pull over to avoid a collision. Do not try to honk or get them out of the way. Just move aside. They may have already realized they are going the wrong way and are trying to find a place to turn around. Demands of city and freeway driving. It's important as a defensive driver to understand the demands of freeway and city driving. It will help you become more aware of the numerous rules and laws that apply when driving. In order to control the different risks that are involved in driving, know where you should be looking and what to look for when you get behind the wheel. Learn what information is available to you, where it is posted, and how to interpret it. This will help you become a better driver and predict the behaviors of other motorists. In order to make sense of the road environment and the laws you need to follow, it's important to understand the signals, signs, and markings found on the road. Many different factors will influence the way you drive and your ability to find and identify a certain traffic situation. You need to be able to develop the proper response to different situations. And understanding the laws will help you to avoid accidents and hazards on the road. It's almost impossible to expect other drivers to know and follow the laws at all times. Drivers make mistakes, and you will, too. Being aware of the traffic laws can help you make fewer mistakes. Remain alert when you drive to help you compensate if another driver makes a mistake or doesn't. Follow the laws. On all roadways of sufficient width, you are required to drive your vehicle on the right half of the road except in the following circumstances: when overtaking and passing another vehicle that is proceeding in the same direction, when the right half of the roadway is closed to traffic due to construction or repair, on a roadway divided into 3 marked lanes for traffic, on a roadway designated for one-way traffic, on all roadways. If you are driving less than the normal speed of traffic, drive in the right-hand lane or as close as practicable to the right-hand curb or edge of the road, except when overtaking and passing another vehicle proceeding in the same direction or when you are preparing for a left turn at an intersection or into a private road or driveway. In an age-restricted community located in an unincorporated area of a county with a population of more than 3 million people, you may drive a golf cart or neighborhood electric vehicle on a paved shoulder that is adjacent to a roadway or as close as practicable to the right-hand curb or edge of the road if there is no paved shoulder. Interacting at intersections. Identifying an intersection. An intersection is an area where 2 different roadways or paths cross or meet one another. There are 2 types of intersections. Controlled. A controlled intersection is where it can be controlled by a sign, stop or yield sign, a signal light, red, yellow, green, flashing, or arrow lights, or can be directed by an officer. Uncontrolled. An uncontrolled intersection is where there is no official method of directing the flow of traffic. When you are approaching an uncontrolled intersection and cannot see cross traffic or at least 100 ft in either direction, you must slow down to at least 10 to 15 miles an hour. Check for cross traffic, and proceed with caution if it is clear. Skills required for crossing and turning through intersections. To drive a vehicle safely through an intersection requires skill and proper judgment. You are responsible more or less for your own judgment whether the intersection is controlled or not. For example, if you come to an intersection and the light is green and you hit a vehicle already in the intersection, you will be held responsible. The green light only allows you to proceed if it is safe to do so. You must have two conditions present at the intersection in order to cross an intersection safely. The light must be green. The intersection has to be clear and safe before crossing. Turns. Judging time to make a maneuver. When you make a left turn on a 4-lane round, it takes longer than if you were making a left turn on 2-lane road. This is because you have to cross over more lanes of traffic. It's important to take this into consideration when you are making a left turn. Whenever you make a turn, whether you're turning left or right, you need to know how long the turn will take and how much time you need to safely complete the turn. If you don't allow enough time, you could interfere with oncoming traffic. If you cause another vehicle who had the right of way to swerve or slam on their brakes, you have technically broken the law. If your failure to allow enough time to turn causes a collision, you could be cited and held financially responsible for the damages. The two main factors to consider when making a turn are speed and distance. Remember to check all lanes you will be crossing before turning. Sometimes, drivers tend to only check the first lane they are crossing but fail to check the rest and miss an oncoming vehicle. This could be a fatal decision. Always check carefully before crossing lanes of traffic. Remember to look for pedestrians that may be crossing. As well, distance away and speed of other vehicles. As mentioned above, you need to know how long it will take you to make a turn. But you also need to know how much time you have available. Check for oncoming traffic and try to determine how fast they are traveling. You may have enough time to turn if the other vehicle is moving at 25 miles per hour. But if they are traveling 45 miles per hour, you may not have time to turn. Making turns at intersections requires a split-second decision. Choosing an opening in traffic. When turning, choose a gap in oncoming traffic that will allow you enough time to safely complete your turn. The larger the gap, the more time you will have to turn and the safer it will be. Scanning behind. Be aware of traffic coming from behind when you are making a turn at an intersection. If there is a designated turn lane, use that. If there is no designated turn lane and another vehicle approaches from behind that doesn't realize you have slowed down or stopped, it is possible you could get hit from behind. Keep the wheels of your car pointed forward when waiting to make your turn. Also keep your foot on the brake pedal until you are able to turn. This way, you can avoid being pushed further into oncoming traffic if you are hit from behind. Left turns protected and unprotected. The difference between a protected left turn and an unprotected left turn is a signal. A protected left turn will have a signal that provides them with adequate time to make a left turn, where they, and opposite traffic turning left, are the only ones using the intersection. A green direction signal gives turning drivers permission to proceed, but driver must still yield the right of way to any vehicle, bicycle, or pedestrian that is still in the intersection. Situations where drivers have to make an unprotected left turn can be tricky. Since an unprotected left turn has no signal telling drivers when it is their turn, drivers turning left must make sure they watch out for oncoming traffic before proceeding with their turn. Two-way left turn lane. There are some streets where it is permissible for drivers to make a left turn from either direction without the infrastructure of a four-way intersection. This is done through the use of a two-way turn lane in the center of the road. A two-way left turn lane divides the roadway, and it means that the two-way left turn lane can only be used when making a left or a turn in the opposite direction, when a U-turn is permitted. If you are trying to turn left from the street, you must drive completely into the center turn lane before making the complete turn. If you stop preemptively, you could end up blocking traffic. If you try to speed through the turn, you could end up hitting unseen oncoming traffic. Before you proceed, make sure the lane is clear in both directions. Only turn when it is safe to do so. It is also advised that you look for oncoming traffic that is also looking to use the center turn lane at the same time you wish to do so. One-way road to one-way road. When you make a left turn at an intersection controlled by traffic lights from a one-way street to another one-way street, you can turn left on a red light if traffic moves from right to left only after stopping completely behind the limit line. If there is a sign prohibiting a left turn on a red light, you must wait for the green light. Before proceeding, make sure the path is clear just as you would when turning right on a red light. Check that there are no other vehicles approaching and no pedestrians entering the crosswalk. Right turn. Begin the turn in the lane nearest the right-hand curb. End the turn in the lane nearest the right-hand curb. Do not swing wide into another lane of traffic. On some roads, you can start your right turn in a lane other than the far right lane if it is specifically marked. For right turns, when turning, watch for pedestrians. Right turns protected and unprotected. A protected right turn means you are turning when there is a green arrow. The green arrow means all other traffic is stopped. If you don't have a green arrow and you are making a turn, it is an unprotected turn. It is still legal, but you must yield to oncoming traffic and only proceed when your path is clear. Right turn against a red light. Make a complete stop when you reach a red light, if there is one, or before entering the intersection. If there is no sign that prohibits a right turn on red, you may turn right. Be careful that you do not interfere with pedestrians, bicyclists, or vehicles moving on their green light. No turn against red arrow. A left turn may not be made when you have a red arrow. If you see a sign that prohibits you from turning left, it is safe to assume that you are also prohibited from making a U-turn. Scan for hazards. Before making a U-turn, check for vehicles coming from the opposite side of the roadway and vehicles turning onto the roadway. Scan in every direction for potential hazards and cars coming out of driveways or coming out of parking spaces. Also, be aware of cars trying to beat the yellow light and pedestrians crossing. Vehicles position before and after U-turns. The law states, when making a U-turn, you must start your U-turn from the leftmost legal lane closest to the center of the road, and then pull forward and scan for oncoming traffic. Traffic control at intersections. Traffic lights, signs, and right-of-way rules tell you when to go or stop at an intersection. These are what the colors of traffic lights mean. Red, a red light means stop. A right turn can be made against a red light after you stop and yield to pedestrians and vehicles in your path. Do not turn if there is a sign posted for "No turn on red." Red arrow. A red arrow means stop until the green signal or arrow appears. A turn may not be made against a red arrow. Flashing red. A flashing red signal light means the same as a stop sign. After stopping, proceed when safe while still observing the right-of-way rules. Yellow. A yellow signal light warns you that the red signal is about to appear. When you see the yellow light, you should stop if you can do so safely. If you can't stop, Look for vehicles that may enter the intersection when the light changes. Flashing yellow. A flashing yellow signal light warns you to be careful. Slow down. And be especially alert. Yellow arrow. A yellow arrow means the protected turning period is ending. Be prepared to obey the next signal, which could be the green or red light or the red arrow. Green. A green light means go. But first, you must let other vehicles, bicycles, or pedestrians remain in the intersection when your signal changes to green. Get through before you move ahead. Make the left turn only if you have enough space to complete the turn before any oncoming vehicle, bicycle, or pedestrian becomes a hazard. Do not enter an intersection, even when the light is green, unless there is enough space to completely cross before the light turns red. If heavy traffic causes you to block traffic, you can be cited. Green arrow. A green arrow means go. But first you must yield to any vehicle, bicycle, or pedestrian still in the intersection. The right or left green arrow allows you to make a protected turn. Oncoming vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians are stopped by a red light as long as the green arrow is lit. Traffic signal blackout. If all traffic signal lights are not working because of an electrical power failure, you must stop at the intersection and proceed when you know other turning and approaching vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians will also be stopping. A blacked-out traffic signal is the same as a stop sign-controlled intersection in all directions. Right-of-way laws. Right-of-way rules help people drive safely. These rules go along with courtesy and common sense. Bicycle, moped riders, and pedestrians must follow these rules. 2. Never insist on taking the right-of-way. If another driver does not yield to you when he or she should, forget it. Let the other driver go first. You will help prevent collisions and make driving more pleasant. However, insisting on others going ahead when you have the right-of-way may cause more problems. You may think you're being polite, but you could end up delaying traffic when you don't take your legal right-of-way. You should slow down at an intersection without stopping or yielding signs and be ready to stop. Vehicles in the intersection or just about to enter it have the right-of-way, and you should allow them to proceed. If you reach the intersection simultaneously with another car, the vehicle on the right should go first. If you approach a T intersection, the car traveling on the through road, this is the top of the T, has the right-of-way. If you're on the road ending, you must stop or yield to traffic on the through road. At intersections with stop signs at all 4 corners, you should stop completely at the limit line or before the stop sign. The car that reached the intersection first gets to go first, followed by the car on the right in a counterclockwise manner. When you make a left turn at an intersection, oncoming traffic from the opposite direction has the right-of-way unless you have a green arrow and are making a protected turn. Make sure you have a large enough gap in traffic where you can start and end the turn completely, without interfering with the flow of traffic or causing someone else to stop or swerve for you. On divided highways or highways with several lanes, watch out for cars coming in any lane you must cross. Whenever you have parked off the road, before you enter the road again, you must signal and yield to traffic. Speed limits. Arizona's basic speed law says that you must never drive faster than is safe for the present conditions. No matter what the speed limit sign may say, your speed should depend on the number and speed of other cars on the road, whether the road surface is smooth, rough, gravel, wet, dry, wide, or narrow, bicyclists or pedestrians walking on the edge of the road, the amount of rain, fog, snow, ice, wind, or dust. For example, if you are driving 45 miles per hour in a 55 miles per hour speed zone during a dense fog, you could be cited by a police officer for driving too fast for the conditions. Even if you consider it safe, you can't drive faster than what is posted as the speed limit. Maximum speed limit. The maximum speed limit on most Arizona-designated open highways is 65 miles per hour. However, for open highways or city freeways, the maximum speed limit is 55 miles per hour unless posted otherwise. If you drive faster than the legal limit or that is considered safe for the current weather and road conditions, you put yourself at risk and the lives of others on the road. It is not only illegal but also extremely dangerous. You may think the force of a crash traveling at 60 miles per hour is twice as great as when you move at 30 mph, but it is 4 times as great. Driving at the speed limit keeps everyone safe. When you drive too slowly. If you block the normal and reasonable movement of traffic by driving too slowly, you may receive a ticket. Impeding traffic. Driving too slowly can be as dangerous as driving too fast. Remember to drive in the right lane and allow faster-moving vehicles to pass whenever you are driving slower than the traffic around you. If you become lost or disoriented, pull off the roadway instead of slowing your vehicle. When you are driving a school bus transporting school pupils, a passenger vehicle, or bus drawing any other vehicle, a farm labor vehicle transporting passengers, a vehicle transporting explosives, a large truck, or towing a vehicle, you will usually be traveling slower than other vehicles. You should try to drive in the right-hand lane or in a lane specially marked for you. If no lanes are marked, and 4 lanes go in your direction, you may only drive in either of the 2 lanes closest to the right side of the road. Note: when you are towing a trailer or other vehicle and following behind another towed vehicle or a 3-axle truck, you must stay at least 300 feet behind it. The rule does not apply when you are in a business or residential district, on a highway with 2 or more lanes for traffic moving in the same direction, overtaking and passing the vehicle ahead. Turnout areas. Special turnout areas are sometimes marked on 2-lane roads. You may pull to the side on these areas and allow cars behind you to pass. Other 2-lane roads sometimes have passing lanes. If you are driving a slow-moving vehicle on a 2-lane highway or road where passing is unsafe, and 5 or more vehicles are following you, pull to the side of the road wherever you can safely do so to let the vehicles go by. Speed limits for designated vehicles. Some vehicles may require observing lower than posted speed limits in certain circumstances. The vehicles subject to these regulations include multi-axle trucks, school buses, vehicles transporting explosives, and trucks transporting farm workers. Prima facie speed limits. As it is stated in Arizona Vehicle Code, any posted speed limit is to be considered the maximum speed under the best circumstances. If any conditions are less than optimum, drive well below the posted speed limit. Blind intersections, railroad crossings, and alleys. The prima facie speed limit at blind intersections, where you cannot see for 100 feet in both directions the last 100 feet before the intersection, is 15 miles per hour. This does not apply at an intersection protected by a stop sign, yield, or right-of-way sign or controlled by traffic control signals. At uncontrolled railroad crossings, the prima facie speed limit is 15 miles per hour if, during the last 100 feet of the approach to the crossing, the driver does not have a clear and unobstructed view of the crossing and any traffic on the railway for a distance of 400 feet in both directions along the railway. Residential. The prima facie speed limit in any residential neighborhood is 25 miles per hour. When there are no speed limit signs for driving in a residential district, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour. But don't be afraid to drive slower if conditions seem to warrant. Business districts. The prima facie speed limit in any business district is 25 miles per hour. When there are no speed limit signs for driving in a business district, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour. But don't be afraid to drive slower if conditions seem to warrant. School zones and senior citizen centers. The prima facie speed limit around any school zone or senior citizen center is 25 miles per hour. If you do not see any signs, assume this to be the limit, but don't be afraid to drive slower if conditions seem to warrant a slower speed. Remember, if you hit someone in one of these zones, the fact that you claim you were driving under the speed limit is not necessarily an adequate defense, especially if the weather conditions are poor. Fines are enhanced in school zones. Always drive more carefully near schools, playgrounds, and parks because children may suddenly dart into the street. Near a school, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour while children are outside or crossing the street. No matter what the speed limit sign states, you should never drive faster than 25 miles per hour when the school ground has no fence and children are outside. Sometimes lower speed limit signs are placed near schools, so look for them. Watch for bicycles and pedestrians near schools. When approaching a school crossing, the speed limit is 15 miles per hour. At a school crossing, the speed limit is typically 15 miles per hour. To identify a school crossing, look for crossing guards directing traffic and neon signs showing children crossing. Speeding in a school zone is irresponsible and dangerous. Look for stopped school buses. Be prepared for children crossing the street. Some school buses flash yellow lights when the bus is stopped and preparing to let children leave the bus. This is warning you to prepare to stop. Flashing red lights mean you must stop until the children are safely across the street and the lights have stopped flashing. Animals around the road. If you see animals or livestock, slow down. Obey the person in charge of the animals. If you see a stray animal in your path, slow down or stop if it is safe to do so. Freeway driving. When you enter the freeway, it's important that you enter into the flow of traffic and travel at a speed that is at or close to the speed of the traffic already on the freeway. The maximum speed limit on a lot of freeways is 65 miles per hour. Never stop before you merge onto the freeway unless it is absolutely necessary. Going with the flow of traffic is much harder when you enter the freeway from a complete stop. If traffic is heavy, it may be necessary to stop and wait for a gap in traffic before you can enter. Traffic on the freeway has the right of way, so you should stay with the flow of traffic. When you merge on the freeway into traffic, you will need a gap of approximately 4 seconds. This allows you enough time to speed up and keeps a 3-second following distance between you, the car behind you, and the car in front of you. You will also need about 4 seconds if you plan to change lanes. Merge onto another road, or enter a freeway from a ramp. Never try to squeeze into a gap that is too small. You may cause another vehicle to swerve or crash into you. Leave yourself enough space. Watch for vehicles nearby. Always use your mirrors and your turn signals whenever you merge or make a lane change. Turn your head in the direction you are turning to check your blind spot. Again, do not move into a space that is too small. Be sure you can safely stop if necessary. If you encounter a time when you need to cross multiple lanes at once, for example, if you need to exit the freeway and are traveling in the farthest lane from the exit, change lanes one at a time. Each time you move, make sure your path is clear. Trying to cross multiple lanes at once is dangerous and reckless. Sometimes, you may encounter a freeway entrance where there is no acceleration lane. The lanes may be controlled with a yield sign, or you might see a merge sign. You may need to slow down or stop, if necessary, to wait for a gap in traffic. HOV, high occupancy vehicle. High occupancy vehicles help to reduce the amount of traffic on the freeways and help to save fuel. If you are traveling in an HOV, you can use the HOV lane if available. The lane is usually marked with a sign and diamond symbols painted on the pavement. If, however, you use the HOV lane when you are traveling with no other passengers, you can be cited. The HOV lane is specifically designed for vehicles with multiple passengers. Freeway restrictions. When you travel on the freeway, there are some restrictions. As mentioned above, you are not allowed to drive in the HOV lane at designated times when traveling with less than 2 people, including the driver. The HOV lane is reserved for carpool vehicles, buses, motorcycles, or vehicles that have an alternative fuel license plate. Other restrictions include the following. You cannot drive over a dividing section or a separation. You cannot make a U-turn. You cannot change lanes by using the proper signals. You cannot stop or park on the freeway unless it is an emergency. You cannot back up on the freeway. If you miss an exit, you need to continue to the next one and circle back around. Exiting freeway. When you are ready to exit the freeway, it's important to allow plenty of time to get into the correct lane. Be aware of which exit you plan to take. Knowing the exit before the one you wish to take can also be helpful, so you have more time to prepare. To exit the freeway safely, get in the proper lane early. Avoid crossing multiple lanes all at once. Take them one at a time into your desired lane. Use your turn signal to alert other drivers that you plan to change lanes and exit. Turn your signal on approximately 5 seconds ahead of time. Also, make sure you are traveling at the proper speed to exit. If you exit too quickly, you may lose control of the vehicle. However, do not reduce your speed so much that you interfere with the flow of traffic. Before starting a trip, prepare yourself and think about where you plan to go. Also, try to travel when traffic is light and the weather is good. This will help keep you safe and usually will reduce the amount of time it takes to get somewhere. If you are unclear on how to get to your desired destination, look at a map before you go. Using a GPS can help you arrive safely, but make sure you are using it in hands-free mode. It can be helpful to enter your location into a GPS and study the directions before you go. It's helpful to have a vague idea of where you are going and which exits you will be taking so you are prepared and not trying to make last-minute moves. If you miss an exit, do not back up or try to drive over a gore area. Simply continue driving until the next exit where you can safely circle back around. Many freeway exit lanes have a deceleration lane where you can safely reduce your speed without interfering with the flow of traffic. Remember, however, that traffic may be using this same lane to merge onto the freeway. So make sure you check that your path is clear before moving into it. Gore area. A gore area is a spot between a freeway ramp either entering and exiting in the roadway. You are not allowed to drive or park in any part of the gore area. Violating this can result in a traffic violation and 3 points being added to your driving record. Collisions or breakdowns. If a vehicle breaks down on the freeway or if there is a collision, it may cause one or more traffic lanes to shut down. The road may be blocked, and traffic may stall. If this occurs,